You don't fall for them because they are distant. You fall because the distance feels known. There is a quiet recognition the moment you meet someone emotionally unavailable. Not excitement, not safety, recognition. Your nervous system exhales. This, it says without words, I understand. Attachment theory explains this without romance. Your earliest emotional bonds taught you what closeness costs. Whether love arrived inconsistently, conditionally, or with emotional absence, your body learned to adapt. Not consciously, physiologically. If care once came mixed with uncertainty, your system now associates unpredictability with connection. Consistency doesn't register as love. It registers as unfamiliar. So when someone is warm one moment and distant the next, something in you wakes up, alert, focused, engaged. This is not chemistry. It is pattern recognition. Emotionally available people offer presence without pursuit. They are clear. They respond. They don't disappear to be desired. And that clarity feels flat to you. Not because it is, but because your nervous system is understimulated by safety. You confuse intensity with intimacy, longing with love, anxiety with attraction. The unavailable person doesn't overwhelm you with closeness. They overwhelm you with possibility. They never fully arrive, so your mind keeps reaching, filling gaps, writing stories where facts are missing. You don't bond to who they are. You bond to who they almost are. This is where the trap begins, because absence activates you. Presence requires you to be seen, to be chosen, to be responded to without delay. That level of emotional availability demands something your system never rehearsed: rest. So instead, you chase what keeps you moving. There's a subtle comfort in emotional distance. If they never fully show up, you never have to fully risk yourself. Rejection from someone unavailable feels familiar. Rejection from someone available would feel final. With the unavailable, there's always an excuse: timing, stress, confusion. Their absence isn't a verdict, it's a mystery. And mysteries keep you engaged far longer than answers ever could. You replay conversations, analyze pauses, decode messages, not because you're irrational, but because your system is trying to secure attachment the only way it knows how: through vigilance. In childhood, vigilance kept connection alive. You learned to read moods, to wait, to hope. Now, as an adult, that same strategy disguises itself as attraction. You tell yourself you like the challenge, that you enjoy depth, that easy love feels shallow. But what you actually crave is emotional resolution. You want the unavailable person to do what no one did before: finally stay. If they choose you, the past rewrites itself. The absence becomes meaningful. The waiting becomes justified. This is why letting go feels so difficult. You're not just losing them, you're losing the fantasy of emotional repair. And fantasies are hard to bury because they never lived in reality to begin with. Here is the rule you rarely hear. Rule card. What feels familiar is not always what feels safe. Your attraction is not evidence of compatibility. It is evidence of conditioning. And until you learn the difference, your heart will keep mistaking emotional absence for depth. But this is only the surface. Because the real hook isn't familiarity. It's the way uncertainty hijacks your brain and turns almost into addiction. That's where the chase truly begins. You tell yourself you're patient, understanding, emotionally deep. But what you're really experiencing is withdrawal. Not from them, from the moments when they almost choose you. Intermittent reinforcement is one of the strongest behavioral hooks known in psychology. Rewards that arrive unpredictably condition the brain faster than consistent ones. It's how slot machines work, and it's how emotionally unavailable people keep you attached. A message after silence. Warmth after distance. Affection just when you're ready to give up. Your brain doesn't register this as instability. It registers it as possibility. Dopamine spikes not when you receive the reward, but when you anticipate it. So the waiting becomes intoxicating. Every small sign feels oversized. Every crumb feels like proof. You're not chasing love, you're chasing relief. Relief from uncertainty, from tension, from the constant state of emotional suspension. Hedonic adaptation ensures that consistency quickly fades into the background. Predictable affection stops stimulating your system, but inconsistency never does, because inconsistency never lets you settle. Emotionally available people show up. They text back. They clarify intentions. There's no puzzle to solve, and without a puzzle, your mind gets bored. Not because the connection lacks depth, but because it lacks adrenaline. With the unavailable person, every interaction feels earned, hard-won, significant. Your brain inflates the value of what is scarce, not because it's better, but because it's rare. You begin to confuse emotional effort with emotional meaning. If it costs you this much, it must be important. That's the logic. But cost does not equal value. It only equals investment. And the more you invest, the harder it becomes to leave. You don't fall in love faster. You get stuck deeper. You start negotiating with reality, lowering expectations, reframing neglect as complexity. They're just guarded. They've been hurt. They need time. You become the interpreter of their absence. Meanwhile, your emotional baseline shifts. What once felt unacceptable now feels normal. This is how almost becomes enough. You don't need them to commit. You just need them to not disappear entirely. And so you live in a loop. Hope, doubt, relief, repeat. The relationship doesn't progress, it oscillates. You're not building intimacy, you're managing anxiety. The most dangerous part is how rational it all feels. You're not dramatic, you're not needy. You're responding exactly as the conditioning demands. Your system has learned that love arrives in fragments, so fragments feel like progress. Here is the rule most people miss. Rule card. What you work hardest for trains you to accept less. The chase reshapes your standards quietly, without asking permission. Soon, peace feels empty. Stability feels dull, and calm feels like disconnection. Not because it is, but because your nervous system is addicted to activation. And addiction always disguises itself as desire. This is why walking away feels wrong. Your brain reads absence as loss, not as freedom. But the real loss has already been happening, slowly, while you wait. Because every time you settle for almost, you move further away from what is actually available. And the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to remember what full presence even feels like. That's the cost of emotional gambling. But beneath the addiction is something even more powerful. A belief, quiet, inherited, and rarely questioned, that love must be earned. And that belief is where everything truly begins. That's what we face next.